As the anime begins, we are introduced to the Shinigami realm. A Shinigami named Ryuk seems preoccupied with something while the other Shinigami relax and gamble. Meanwhile, Light Yagami, in his high school English class, observes his classmates playing games and whispering, ignoring the lesson. On the way home, various crimes are reported via public television. Ryuk and Light in their respective worlds think about how rotten the world has become. The next day in class, Light sees a notebook fall to the ground. He retrieves the notebook after school. At home, he doubtfully goes over the rules written inside the notebook and decides to test it by writing down the name of a criminal involved in a hostage situation on live TV. After 40 seconds, as he is about to turn the TV off, the hostages run out of the building unharmed. The criminal dropped dead of a heart attack, and Light is astonished.
Now have confirmation. The suspect has been found dead inside. I repeat, the suspect is now dead.
Dead?
Still not completely convinced it was not a coincidence, Light decides to test the notebook a second time. He decides against killing Sadhu, a bully at his school, to avoid killing anyone he knows. On his way home from cram school, he sees a motorcycle gang abusing a young woman. Hearing that the leader's name is Takuo Shibuamaru, Light walks into a shop and writes Takuo's name in several variations, to make sure he spells his name correctly. To further test the notebook, Light writes and the cause of death was a traffic accident. 40 seconds later, Takuo is struck by a passing truck.
Look out!
Realizing that he has killed 2 people, Light is violently sick. In the Shinigami realm, the other Shinigami laugh at Ryuk for dropping his death note in the human world. Expressionlessly, he sprouts wings and flies through the portal. Light arrives home from school and gives his mother the results of the national practice exam. He waves off any offers of a reward for placing first and goes to his room to be alone. Opening up the death note, several pages of the notebook are filled with names. Ryuk appears, and Light screams and falls out of his chair in surprise.
You've taken quite a liking to it.
Ryuk introduces himself as the Shinigami who dropped the notebook. Collecting himself, Light informs Ryuk that he has been waiting for him. Ryuk is impressed with the number of times Light has used the death note in just 5 days and supplies Light with more information about the notebook. Light explains that he has been killing criminals with heart attacks, expecting people to begin realizing that someone is passing judgment on them. He has tasked himself with cleansing the world of evil and expects that once people realize someone is watching them and killing evildoers, everyone else will conform to good. While Ryuk wonders if this will make Light the only evil person left, Light brushes this aside and claims that he is one of Japan's top students who will reign over a new world as God.
And I will become the god of this new world.
Ryuk appears satisfied that he has found something so interesting in the human world. The episode starts in Light's high school English class, where Light translates a sentence into Japanese. After school, someone asks if Light wants to hang out, but he claims he is busy. At home, Light begins entering more criminals' names into the death note as the news broadcasts their names and faces. He tells Ryuk he has to work hard because the time he gets to write in the notebook is limited due to his studies and concern for his health. Light's sister, Sayu, knocks on his door to get help with her homework. Light immediately stashes the notebook in his drawer and lets his sister in. Ryuk warns Light that if she were to touch the death note, she would be able to see him. Light curses the fact that Ryuk waited until now to reveal such an important rule to him, but keeps a calm face as he helps his younger sister with her math homework. Meanwhile, the International Criminal Police Organization begins its meeting, addressing the 52 known cases of criminals dying of heart attacks. One member questions why this is even a problem since all the people who died were sentenced either to life in prison or death row, but another member stresses that even though such is the case, some unknown entity is killing criminals through some form of mass murder. The bickering escalates until the apparent head of the meeting silences everyone, saying that Interpol has no choice but to bring in L again. The statement causes the entire room to begin whispering again. One man questions his chief about what the man means by L. The chief tells the young man that L is the name taken on by a mysterious person whose real name and identity are unknown. L has been able to solve every case given to him by the Aikpo, who view him as their trump card. The room's silence is broken by a member who questions how they will even be able to contact L in the first place, especially since he is known to only take on cases that interest him. This question is immediately answered by a tall man in a trench coat, whose face is hidden by his hat. The man, who the chief briefly explains as Watari, The Ikpo's only contact with L states that L has already been investigating the case. He opens a laptop to display the enormous letter L. A scrambled voice begins speaking from the laptop, introducing himself as L. L informs Interpol that he will need the cooperation of every organization being represented in the Ikpo, especially the Japanese task force, since he has suspicions that the mass murderer resides in Japan. Meanwhile, Light has devised a trap to prevent anyone from ever touching the notebook. He opens a drawer in his desk to reveal an ordinary diary, which would interest anyone snooping around enough to stop there. Underneath the diary, however, is a false bottom hiding the death note that, if pried open incorrectly, will set fire to the notebook and Light's desk. Light calmly tells Ryuk that he would much prefer risking a house fire over the notebook's discovery and a death sentence. As more criminals die of heart attacks, the public dubs the entity behind it all as Kira. While news reports ignore the fact that Kira has emerged from the killings, the appearance of many fan websites is enough proof to know that most people, especially in online anonymity, are welcoming Kira with open arms. A special broadcast airing worldwide from the Ikpo interrupts the television program. A man in a suit introduces himself as Lindell Taylor, alias L. The Japanese task force watches the live broadcast in surprise that L is revealing his face for the first time. The Taylor berates Kira for his crimes and claims he will face justice. Only when he states that what Kira is doing is evil does Light react angrily, writing Taylor's name in the notebook. 40 seconds later, Taylor collapses and is dragged off camera, and the screen switches to L's insignia. L's scrambled voice sounds awestruck by the proof that Kira can kill without having to be there in person.
I had to test this just in case, but I never thought it would actually happen. Kira, it seems you can kill people without having to be there in person.
Light curses L for being one step ahead of him as L taunts and challenges him. In turn for proof of his abilities, L reveals to Kira that the worldwide airing was only being aired in the Kanto region of Japan, and he has narrowed down Kira's location and identified Kira's first victim. The police are amazed and motivated by the turn of events. Light collects himself and he and L swear to hunt each other down, as they both believe themselves to be justice. The police review their information on the Kira case, and L, via Watari's laptop computer, states it is very likely that Kira is a student. At the end of the meeting, L asks the police to investigate if the victims' faces were shown in the media before their deaths. That night, Light is at home helping Sayu with her homework when their father, Soichiro Yagami, comes home. Thanks to his father's position as chief of police, Light can stay one step ahead of the investigation by hacking into his computer over their shared home network. He discovers that the police are suspecting that Kira could be a student. Mentally reviewing the rules of the death note, Light begins manipulating the times of death so that criminals die while he is engaging in everyday activities at school.
If I write heart attack as the cause of death, then I should be able to write down all the details, including time of death afterwards, shouldn't I? Looks like I'll be able to provide you with more entertainment now.
The police hold another meeting to discuss the 46 deaths that occurred over the previous 2 days, exactly 1 hour apart from each other. L concludes that Kira can control the time of death and is flaunting it, concluding to himself that Kira must have access to police information. Light reveals to Ryuk that L will soon start suspecting people in the police force, and when the police discover that he is investigating them, they will become angry and investigate L. When the police find him, Light will be able to eliminate him. At the NPA, 3 men give their resignation letters to Chief Yagami. They confirm that all of the victims' faces were shown before they died, and unlike L, as policemen, their names and faces are publicly known. Later, Watari informs L that the FBI has entered Japan to investigate police personnel. On the way home from school, Ryuk tells Light that there is someone following him, but makes it clear that he is not doing it because he is on Light's side, but merely because having someone following them creeps him out. At home, Ryuk reveals to Light that Shinigami write humans' names in their death notes to increase their lifespans, and that Shinigami can see the name and lifespan of any human they look at. Ryuk knows exactly how much time Light has left and offers Light a deal. He can give Light the power of his Shinigami eyes in exchange for half of his remaining lifespan. Even though his remaining lifespan would be halved, Light admits he would be able to use the death note more effectively. Light Yagami explains to Ryuk that he is trying to create an ideal world where no criminals are left unpunished, and as the god of such a world, he cannot sacrifice half his life for the Shinigami eyes, as that would limit his reign. He decides to experiment with the death note using incarcerated criminals. Chief Yagami and L are soon puzzled by reports they receive of prisoners dying in odd circumstances. Hacking into the notes for the ongoing investigation, Light discovers that L suspects they were tested and doesn't want this information reported to the media. Later, Light creates a plan to discover the identity of the man following him without arousing his suspicion. He plans a date to Spaceworld with a classmate, Yuri. His tracker, though becoming less suspicious of him, follows Light onto the bus to Space World, sitting directly behind the couple. During the ride, a drug dealer and murderer named Kichiro Osrita, who was recently in the news, boards the bus and points a gun at the driver. Light hands a note to Yuri, saying that he will use a move his father taught him to knock out Osrita. The man behind him notices and tries to talk Light out of it, but when Light accuses him of being in league with the hijacker, he eventually resorts to using his FBI ID to prove his innocence.
I see. Elle needed an outsider, so we got the FBI to investigate anyone connected to the Japanese police. His name is Ray Penber.
Light drops the paper in the aisle and reaches for it, and Osrita notices and picks up a note that contains plans for the date. However, the plans were written from a page in the death note, and after touching the page, Osrita can see Ryuk. Intrigued, Ryuk walks toward him, and Osrita panics and wastes his bullets trying to shoot him. Osrita orders the bus to a stop and attempts to flee, but is immediately struck and killed by a white sedan. As the police question witnesses and Ray Penber leaves, Light resumes the date, planning the FBI investigator's death.
You will be next, Ray Penber.